Everyone said she'd never walk again, not even the galaxy's greatest scientists. But when her mother turned the corner and saw her taking a step, she dropped the plate and her world changed forever. Jacob Reed stood in front of the towering gates with a backpack slung over one shoulder and a contract still warm from his nervous grip. He had worked in cramped Earth labs, shared hostels, and damp basement offices before, but nothing prepared him for this. The mansion loomed like something out of a dream. Sleek alien metal fused with marble, shifting textures humming softly under the afternoon sun. It wasn't just a home. This place was alive. The gate scanned him. A smooth voice, layered with electronic warmth, spoke. Human assistant identified. Entry authorized. The doors slid open. Jacob hesitated for a heartbeat. Not because of fear, but because reality hit him. He was no longer the guy rejected from job after job. He was now stepping into the home of one of the wealthiest alien figures in the quadrant, with a salary that still felt illegal every time he reread the contract. The driveway curved up through sculpted gardens, bioluminescent flowers shifting colors at his footsteps. Earth couldn't grow anything like this without 3 patents and a small fortune. He smiled despite himself. Even broke humans can appreciate beauty. At the entrance, the door opened before he could knock. A tall alien with copper skin and 4 articulate arms lowered its head politely. "Welcome, Jacob Reed. I am Paxis, head of internal operations." Internal operations sounded like a corporate branch, not household management. Even the servants here could probably run a small city. As Paxis led him inside, paintings and holographic art shifted on the walls. Not looping animations, but pieces that reacted to the viewer's emotional state. Jacob tried not to stare too long. The last time he analyzed something too closely in a corporate lobby, security escorted him out. Paxis spoke gently as they walked deeper into the mansion. "Lady Alara, your employer, was informed of your arrival. She is completing a strategic council call." Jacob nodded, but the name alone carried weight. Alara Thalven, known for interstellar trade expansions, political negotiations, and a tragedy. Her husband had died in a shuttle disaster. Their daughter survived but was paralyzed. It was the kind of story people whispered about, never discussed openly. They stopped outside a door with soft blue light pulsing at its edges. "This is your room," Paxis said. "Lady Alara's daughter will meet you shortly." Jacob took a breath before entering, pulse loud in his ears. He wasn't sure what terrified him more: the advanced alien world he was stepping into, or the possibility he might fail yet another family who needed help. Jacob barely had time to drop his bag before a soft chime echoed through the room. The door slid open on its own, and he jumped a little. Technology here didn't wait for the user. A young voice floated in from the hallway. "Are you my new assistant? Or another temporary flight risk?" Jacob turned. A girl sat in a hovering chair, silver hair drifting around her head like soft smoke. Her skin carried a gentle shimmer, alien and ethereal, yet her expression was painfully human. Curious, guarded, maybe a little tired of meeting new people. He smiled. "I'm Jacob Reed, and statistically speaking, I'd say I have a solid 50% chance of staying." Her lips twitched. "Better odds than the last one. He made it 2 hours." She maneuvered her chair inside with expert control. No awkwardness, no self-pity, just a kid determined not to be pitted. Jacob admired that immediately. "Well," he said, "I'm tougher than I look, or at least more desperate." She raised a brow. "I like honesty. Most adults here talk to me like I'm a malfunctioning machine." That one hit him hard. He sat on the edge of the desk, leveling with her rather than towering over her. "I've worked in labs where everyone treated patients like data. It never sat well with me." Her eyes softened for just a moment. Then curiosity returned. "So what did they tell you about me?" "That you're 12 and brilliant." She snorted. "They forgot cranky." Jacob laughed. She didn't. He suddenly remembered the file note that said the accident had taken place 3 years back. 12 going on 30. Trauma ages people faster than time. Lyra, he remembered the name now, tapped a control panel, and her chair drifted closer. There's something wrong with the exoskeleton device they use for therapy. It listens like a bad translator. Jacob blinked. Not a statement he expected from someone under 13. Bad translator? Yes. It interprets nerve responses like baseline human neural architecture. But we're not wired the same way. Jacob leaned forward slowly. Can you explain? Oh, gladly. But if I do, you're not allowed to quit today. He lifted a hand. Deal. For the next 10 minutes, she spoke with the fluency of a junior researcher. Not childish rambles, structured observation, logical thinking, even frustration buried beneath sarcasm. Jacob felt something shift inside him. Everyone here saw a disabled child. He saw a mind that refused to stay small. And that, perhaps, was the first real mistake the universe made. Lyra was still talking when the air behind Jacob shifted. Soft footsteps. Quiet but unmistakably precise. He didn't need to turn around to sense someone important had entered. Lyra's eyes flicked past him, and her posture tightened. "Mom's here," she murmured, not fearful, just bracing. Jacob stood and finally faced the woman he had only seen in news feeds and corporate broadcasts. Lady Ilara Thalven carried elegance like armor. Tall, graceful, midnight blue skin that shimmered when she moved. Her silver hair was pinned in a style that said every minute of her schedule had weight. She wasn't just beautiful. She was composed, controlled, and tired in a way only strong people get tired. Her eyes met Jacob's. Not cold. Evaluating. "Mr. Reed." He straightened, suddenly aware of how earthborn and ordinary he must look in her world. "Lady Ilara, it's an honor." She approached Lyra's chair first, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead with a tenderness that softened the rigid line of her shoulders. "How was the introduction?" Lyra smirked. "He hasn't run away yet." Ilara's lips curved. Barely, but it counted as a smile. Then her gaze shifted back to Jacob. "I don't require miracles. Just consistency." That sentence landed heavier than it sounded. It wasn't about performance. It was about the past. Jacob could hear everything between the lines. Too many promises. Too many failures. Too many people quitting. He nodded. "I can manage consistency." Ilara studied him for another beat, as if measuring sincerity at the molecular level. Finally, she gestured toward a wall panel. "Paxis has prepared your access permissions. You'll assist Lyra with therapy schedules and academic projects. If she gives you trouble," Lyra interrupted. "I give everyone trouble. It's my personality." Jacob choked back a laugh. Ilara didn't scold her. Just sighed the sigh of a single mother who had learned to pick her battles. As Ilara turned to leave, Lyra whispered out of the corner of her mouth. "She looks very intimidating, but she's actually soft gelatin inside." Jacob blinked. He shouldn't laugh. He absolutely laughed. Ilara stopped mid-step without turning. "I heard that." Lyra grinned. After the mother left, Jacob's amusement slowly faded, replaced by something heavier. He had noticed, even in that brief moment, a detail no medical file described. Lyra didn't just suffer physical damage. The entire house was built around a broken hope. And Jacob, for the first time in a long time, felt something unfamiliar rising. Not pressure. Not fear. Jacob did not expect to start his new job with homework. But that night he found himself seated at the narrow desk in his room, scans of Lyra's medical history floating in holographic projection. Alien medical logs looked like art, glowing diagrams and flowing nerve patterns that shifted as he touched the interface. Whoever designed the therapy systems had been brilliant, but something was missing. They were treating Lyra's nervous system like a static electrical circuit. But earlier today, she had said something simple and unforgettable. "We don't think in electricity alone. We think in light." Jacob ran his fingers across the display. Saruan neural patterns didn't just fire, they glowed. The system wasn't misreading signals. It was mistranslating a language. No wonder nothing worked. He leaned back, exhaling. He wasn't the smartest scientist in the universe. He was just someone who listened. A soft clink broke the silence. Jacob froze, not from fear but recognition. Something behind the wall panel had just shifted. He'd heard that sound in old Earth Tech Labs, microrecorders adjusting their position. He stood slowly and pressed his palm along the seam of the wall. Nothing visible, nothing tampered with, nothing out of place. But he trusted his instincts. Someone was recording. He moved calmly back to the desk and flipped the projection to meaningless chemistry formulas, old habit from hiding experimental prototypes in underfunded labs. Only when he was sure he wasn't being watched visually did he whisper under his breath. Someone was here before me. The idea didn't frighten him. It angered him. He packed up his notes and slid them into the smallest, oldest, least networked device he owned. A battered Earth tablet that couldn't connect to alien systems without adapters. If someone was spying, they wouldn't get anything from that. He turned off the room lights and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come. Instead, his mind drifted back to Alara, the exhaustion in her eyes, the way she looked at Lyra. Not hopeless, but afraid to hope. Jacob had been close to losing everything in life. Research career, funding, credibility. He knew what failure tasted like. But Lyra didn't deserve to grow up believing the universe quit on her. He rolled onto his side and whispered into the dark. I'll figure this out, even if I have to build it wire by wire. And for the first time in years, he meant it completely. Morning came faster than Jacob expected. He'd barely slept, yet something about the mansion felt different now, like the air itself carried possibility. He met Lyra in the therapy room, a bright chamber lined with floating screens and medical modules that hummed with quiet alien precision. Lyra tapped her armrest and gave him a suspicious squint. You look terrible. Did you experiment on yourself last night? Jacob smirked. Rude, factual, and efficient. You're going to make an excellent scientist. She grinned back, but her hands were tight on the controls. Excitement layered with fear. For all her intelligence, she was still a kid who had experienced more loss than most adults. Jacob wheeled out the modified interface plates, smaller and sleeker than the original equipment. To anyone else, they probably looked like harmless pieces of alloy. To him, they were the first tangible expression of a new theory. He positioned one gently against the base of her spine, another at the hip joints. Lyra inhaled sharply, not from pain, but anticipation. What exactly is different? Jacob checked the readings on his handheld. Your old system tried to override your biology. This one listens to it. She blinked, then nodded slowly. Listening might be smarter. People give lousy advice when they assume instead of asking. He chuckled quietly. Kids didn't sugarcoat truths. Jacob activated the device. A soft violet ripple moved across the plates. An encouraging sign. The sensors were picking up the faint bioluminescent pulse of Saruan neural signals. He stepped back. All right, don't move your legs. Just think about moving them. One toe. One simple flex. Lyra stared forward, lips pressed together. Her brows furrowed in concentration. The handheld screen jumped. Tiny markers dancing in new patterns. There. Jacob leaned closer. Movement signals. Raw, authentic. Her biology was talking. Lyra whispered without opening her eyes. Did anything happen? He swallowed. Yes. Your nervous system responded. Her eyes flew open. Seriously. He nodded, unable to hide the grin. The hovering chair dropped half an inch. Just a subtle shift, but Lyra gasped like she'd been launched into orbit. It felt alive. Jacob exhaled shakily. He hadn't realized until now just how emotionally invested he already was. Lyra looked at him, not just with excitement, but with something heavier, belief. For a child who'd been told no by the universe too many times, even a millimeter of movement meant something world-changing. Before Jacob could say anything more, the therapy room door slid open. Lady Alara stood there, expression unreadable, but her eyes weren't on Jacob. They were on her daughter, and a flicker of something almost lost in time passed across her face. And that was only the beginning. No one in the galaxy understood how one ordinary human had just done the impossible. But soon the universe would find out. Because when a single moment of hope brings a family back to life, the fight is never over. and Jacob was just getting started.